Representative Matt Gaetz shuts down the View hosts for trash-talking Trump, sparking a tense moment. In a fiery moment that had the View audience on the edge of their seats, Representative Matt Gaetz, Republican Florida, clashed with the show's hosts during a recent appearance, shutting down their criticism of former President Donald Trump in a dramatic and highly charged exchange. The confrontation unfolded when the panel of The View, including Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and Sunny Hostin, turned their attention to the latest developments surrounding Trump's legal battles and political future. As they began to air their strong opinions, openly criticizing the former president, Gaetz, a staunch Trump ally, quickly stepped in to challenge their narrative. The discussion had started innocuously enough, with the hosts discussing the ongoing legal challenges facing Trump. However, as Behar and Hostin began to heavily criticize Trump's actions, particularly focusing on his involvement in the January 6th Capitol riot and the various criminal charges against him, Gaetz's patience wore thin. "Let's be clear," Gaetz said, interrupting Behar mid-sentence. "This whole narrative you're pushing is completely one-sided. You're not interested in hearing about the facts. You're just interested in tearing down a man who, for better or worse, has an enormous base of support." The tension in the room was palpable as the hosts attempted to defend their positions, with Goldberg chiming in to argue that Trump's actions were not only dangerous, but damaging to the country. "The truth is, Matt, the man has shown a pattern of behavior that shouldn't be ignored. He's undermined democracy," Goldberg said firmly, her voice tinged with frustration. Gaetz, however, was ready with a counterpoint. "Undermining democracy? Who's been undermining democracy for the past 4 years? Maybe it's the media and those who have been so fixated on Trump that they've completely ignored the people who elected him. You have a whole segment of this country that feels completely unheard, and that's the real issue here," he retorted, his tone pointed and unapologetic. This was the moment the tension in the room peaked. As the hosts reacted to Gaetz's comments, the back and forth grew increasingly heated. Hostin, visibly irritated, fired back, saying, "You can't just keep saying that people are unheard while ignoring the actual harm done by Trump's rhetoric and actions. The man incited a riot." Gaetz didn't back down, however. "Let's not pretend like there's no nuance here. You can call it insurrections all you want, but the way the media and certain politicians are framing it is completely misleading. People have a right to be frustrated, and they have a right to voice that frustration. That doesn't mean they're all bad people," he countered, his eyes locking with the hosts. The rest of the panel looked visibly uncomfortable, unsure of how to defuse the escalating confrontation. Behar tried to regain control of the discussion, but Gaetz was relentless. "You all love to talk about unity, but you're creating division by labeling millions of Americans as extremists simply because they supported Trump. That's not how democracy works," he said, cutting across any further attempts at rebuttal. For a brief moment, the room fell silent, with the hosts staring at Gaetz in disbelief. It was clear that Gaetz was not going to let them dictate the narrative or make him a punching bag. The clash lasted for several tense minutes, with the show's producers ultimately cutting to a commercial break to give everyone a moment to cool off. The fallout from the exchange was immediate. Social media exploded with reactions, as viewers debated whether Gaetz was right to shut down the hosts or whether his approach was too combative. Supporters of Gaetz praised him for standing up for Trump and for challenging the mainstream media's portrayal of the former president. Meanwhile, critics accused Gaetz of deflecting the conversation and failing to address the real issues surrounding Trump's actions. In the aftermath of the heated segment, the View panel resumed their discussion, but the tone was noticeably different. The hosts, while still vocal in their criticisms of Trump, seemed somewhat more cautious in how they framed their arguments, perhaps wary of further provocation. For Gaetz, the moment was likely a victory in his ongoing campaign to defend Trump and challenge the narratives surrounding him. However, it was also a stark reminder of the deep political divide that continues to dominate public discourse in America. The clash on The View was a microcosm of the broader tension that has become all too familiar in today's polarized political climate. Whether one agrees with Gaetz or the View hosts, there's no denying that the moment was a perfect example of how a simple TV appearance can turn into a flashpoint in the ongoing cultural and political wars. The showdown will likely be remembered as one of the most contentious moments in the show's history.